Welcome to episode 10 of The Lion's Share. My name is Alistair McLean and I am a mentor of the Pure Masculine, and I gain and translate wisdom from animal spirits and nature by sharing a love of nature through our own nature. Today is a special episode about purification. Today I channel the wisdom of the frog and I discuss my experience with biohacking my body and mental health, using plant and animal wisdom. Plus, I also talk about the purification of humanity through prophetic visions I attain during these practices. Please be sure to make note that all animal wisdom episodes I channel are parts of you. They are you. They are part of your consciousness, part of your body and DNA, because we are all one. So this message is not outside of you, it is within you. Welcome. The Lion's Share, straight from the heart. Thank you for listening to my podcast. This is episode 10, and this podcast is really starting to show its true flavour, its true purpose. And the deeper I go into the medicine, the deeper I listen to myself and which animals want to come through, the more profound the messages seem to be. I've added a separate video on my YouTube channel at thesacredrainbowwarrior, which is a beautiful direct channel message from the spirit of the frog. It's quite a light one. I go into more detail in this actual podcast, but please listen to this in conjunction with this podcast message as it is linked. So first, I'm going to talk about the behaviour of the frog, and you'll see how its physical reality of behaviour is linked to how humans work, to how we work. Every animal spirit of consciousness I discuss is closely linked to an archetype or a personality within ourselves. And just imagine how many different animals there are out there. This is how complex we are as human beings. We create our own personal reality, our personality. So there are some of us that deeply resonate with the frog, such as myself. I'm passionate about purity, the purity of my spirit, my consciousness, my dark, my light, my channeling, my work, my body, my relationships and my friendships. I take purity very seriously, and to channel this animal is very profound. So if you resonate with this message, you'll start to understand the symbiosis of consciousness we share with animals, and just feeling that can bring you deep healing. Always remember that knowing my teachings isn't receiving my teachings. Feeling it is receiving it. And feeling it is love. It is only through feeling that we can truly heal. And this is what animal wisdom is trying to teach us. Love is necessary for understanding the frog, for the frog sits in the energy of the green, the energy of the heart chakra. To understand its behaviour is to understand the spirit of consciousness that is exhibited through the process of cleansing, a cleansing ritual. The frog sits in ponds and moist environments surrounded as often as possible by a water source, because frogs always come to the source for replenishment. A particular and powerful behavioural element of the frog is singing in the water. This song, this frog song, vibrates through the water, sending out vibrational ripples, vibrational waves. And I spoke about the fifth dimensional consciousness wave in the previous podcast. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about vibrational waves. This is a metaphor of the song of your heart. So when the frog sings in the water, it's singing in its home, in its heart, in your body. And it's a metaphor for singing from the heart, singing the song of life. A frog is most at home in wet environments, not because it needs to keep moist, but because it's alleviated by the water. It uses the water to bathe, to communicate and to mate, to communicate to its mate and to find its mate. Water is consciousness. And when the frog sings in the water, it is sending out a message into the source of consciousness. When a song emanates, when it is sung from purity of heart, it touches others, it touches everything, just like we do. Because a song from the heart is like an unstoppable wave of love. Our ears are trained through centuries of ignorance and detachment from nature. Unlike indigenous peoples, we only hear the frog singing. But it is only through the deep feeling of the heart that you can hear the vibration of a deep ritual cleansing. Just like when cats purr, that vibration is sending the cat into a ritualistic healing sleep, a deep relaxation allowing the body to heal. Frogs sing from the heart, and when they do, they attract the purity manifested from their heart. The frog persists with behaviour which exists within the spectrum of love. It is a spectrum that most of us have lost touch with. It is the spectrum of purity through cleansing. A frog likes to keep its house in order, its pond. That means having a clear out now and again to keep its pasture clean of pests. It feeds off the pests in a symbiotic relationship with nature by feeding on that which invades the home, the pond, that which invades the heart. Let me use human behaviour as an example. If we put a book on our bedside table that is about horror and murder, does that energy of the book have a positive effect on the environment of your room? Or does having garbage or harmful substances in your room contribute to the consciousness of your environment? Would you live in your own filth, or would you clean it out of your environment? Just like the frog needs a clean and pure environment, we do too, and that also requires space. Our space needs to be cleansed so that it does not pollute the water within our bodies, the water of consciousness. Just like Dr. Masaru Emoto's experiments on water consciousness, the vibrations of what we speak to water affect the shape and health of the water, and we are made mostly of water. The frog teaches us to keep our environment and bodies clean, to keep them pure. It is often said that a clean house equals a clean mind. This is how the consciousness of the frog works. It works in harmony with its surroundings. It purifies its home, a metaphor for the heart. And by purifying the heart, it is creating space for the mind, so that the mind does not become cluttered with distraction or tasks to do. It creates a feeling of peace. In a way, it's like if you go to a crowded shopping mall, you feel on edge because you don't have your space. Your space is not clean because of the energy from other people. It's similar to that. So if your life is in disarray emotionally, this also applies. What is in your heart that needs to be taken out? What needs to be decluttered? What needs to be purified through consciousness? The frog wisdom is to purify that which intoxifies your home, your heart, by cleansing the toxicities from your space, your heart space. It is a simplistic medicine, but very powerful, for it is the clutter that we allow to sit in our space that holds energy. It holds memories of the past. It is the not letting go of the old, the things that fall away. Sometimes we may have memories or objects in our house or our hearts that serve a purpose. They hold an energy of love, and they should be kept clean and looked after. But objects or memories that we hold on to that are not good for our hearts should be cleansed out. These are the energies of spring. We let that which dies in winter be cleansed out in the rebirth of spring. Just like a garden, the winter kills the pests and rodents while new plants grow in the springtime sun. Now I will talk about biohacking purity. The subject on biohacking is controversial and huge, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but it is a very important part and process of purification. And when I talk about biohacking, I don't mean in the when I talk about biohacking, I mean using natural remedies, not technology. Natural remedies that we've forgotten about or that we've rediscovered. So the problem with purification is that people don't know how to go down and come back up. So they don't know how to go into the darkness and come back into the light. They don't know how to come back, go into the deep blue, the deep water, and then come back into land or into the shallows. The frog is not a teacher in this. That is a different animal spirit altogether. People hold on to what joy they can find in life, but when you do take a deep purification journey, as I have done, it's very difficult to find your way back, and sometimes that can be dangerous. I sacrificed everything to get where I am today, and along the way I tried everything to get to the bottom of who I am, the bottom of the meaning and purpose of my life and life in general. And when I was going through my dark journey of purification, I learned very quickly that what you resist persists, but what you acknowledge and take responsibility for disappears. And that's how I stumbled upon, in my opinion, the greatest and most formidable form of purification: sharing. That is why I call my podcast The Lion's Share, because it's about the courage to share your darkness, to sacrifice your ego in devotion to love. There are many ways of hacking purity. There is biohacking the mind, the body and the spirit. You can also hack your integration. You can purify your body, mind and spirit with the correct nutrition, removing processed foods, alcohol and toxic oils. This is nothing new. Nutrition is a powerful purification process, especially, and I used to be a big meat eater, which is probably surprising considering I'm talking and channeling about animals. But I went on a purification process, and by removing meat from my diet, I was removing the consciousness of cruelty from my body. I was taking responsibility for my ignorance. And that alone is worth doing. So I became vegetarian as part of my purification diet to purify. That's how devoted I am to purification, despite still missing the taste of meat. You can purify also with better sleep, be the best form. But the best form of purification outside of sharing is exercise and movement. And I don't mean the shallow kind. I don't mean just doing it like everybody else does it, like yoga or going for a run. I mean in complete and utter union with your body. Movement keeps the body in motion and helps with integration, and it exorcises, like exorcism, the stuck energy that is held by the mind and the consciousness of the body, in order to attain greater healing. And when you combine that with rest and sleep, you can catalyze the speed of your purification. It's like slingshotting you. It's really powerful because this stuck energy can hold on, and it can kind of prevent you and cause you to not want to move. And so when you go against that and you use your willpower to move through that, whether that be through dance or running or exercise or whatever it is, you can get rid of that. You can purify that. However, the fastest and most powerful form of purification in combination with sharing is definitely plant medicine. So we are talking about the frog today, and the frog is a medicine on its own. If you don't know already about plant medicine, there is also toad medicine. These are animal medicine. So toad medicine is called bufo, and frog medicine is called cambo. The toad medicine, bufo, is a strong form of dimethyltryptamine, commonly known as DMT, and cambo is a peptide, which is essentially a protein that is specially programmed for a specific job, specifically healing. Cambo is it's especially good at cleaning the physical body, the stomach, the intestines, and more importantly, the blood. It's not a psychedelic. It's just used for purification, getting out heavy metals or poisons. Cambo is learned from tribal and shamanic practices from Southern America, such countries as Peru, Colombia, where the secretions are taken from the frog ceremonially and burned into the skin, where then a purge takes place. Bufo, however, is a different medicine altogether. It's one of the most powerful forms of plant medicine on the planet, and I can vouch for that. My experience with Bufo was profound. It was my first ever plant medicine, and I went in completely blind. So it's more of a spiritual cleanser. By cleansing the spirit is also cleansing the body, because all disease is linked to an emotional origin. And that is what I discovered on my journey. Bufo induces strong visions like drinking ayahuasca, which is a very strong purification medicine made from a vine and bush leaves mixed together into a very unpleasant tasting drink, which makes it great because that way it's not abused. But that's snake medicine, and we're talking about frog medicine today. But I mention this medicine because it is what takes me on to the next part of this strong message around purification. It takes me on to the prophecy of purification, the purification of humanity. I've been given prophetic visions in the past when I've used plant medicine, and some have come true already. And whenever I get a vision, I always look at myself first, because it always comes through as a metaphor. So I always treat it as something that's going to happen in me. But what happens in me also happens in the collective. And one of those visions was that we are leaving the age of the dragon, which is the age of power. This age was distorted by the misuse of power, because man cannot fathom the power of the feminine. Very triggering, I know, and so continues to try and control it. Now, when I say that, when I say the power of the feminine, I'm talking multi-dimensionally. This is a spiritual power about creation. This is about Gaia. This is about life force, the power of creation. Women are completely different spiritually to the masculine, and that's not to say masculine isn't powerful in his own way, but the masculine is, how do I say this, needs to go through a deep purification because of this distortion. Now, this is why I talk about this. This is what came through in this prophetic vision. In our current day and age of the patriarchy, man plunders in new ways. Before, it was burning villages, conquering castles, murdering, raping. This still happens, but it's evolved into manipulation and power. Like the economy and consumption and distraction. This is the age of the dragon. But it is this energy, this misunderstanding of the role of the masculine that prevented peace on earth and instead created the wars and miseries that we see today. You see everywhere that as soon as you mention the word God, for example, an atheist will pop up and say, well, if there was a God, he wouldn't allow all this war, poverty and misery. Or a follower of Christianity might say, well, God moves in mysterious ways. And the scientist will say, well, it's all relative. This is the true ignorance of man, for it is us as a collective that creates this war and poverty. For we are already part of everything that exists. We're all connected through energy. It's like the butterfly effect. And if God is everything that already exists, then we are the reason we live in this poverty and destruction. When you insult someone, is that from free will of your heart or from the free will of God? Do you blame your actions on God, your action of war against another, or do you take responsibility for it and say, I'm going to change? The second part of my vision was that we are entering a new age, the age of the frog. I was shown this through the wisdom of animals because of my connection to animals. And the frog represents cleansing and purity, as you all know today. And you can see it's already starting to show itself in society. The oceans are being cleaned from plastic, new inventions to clean rivers, new laws created to prevent the dumping of toxic waste, emphasis on healthier foods and exercise, sleep, biohacking, just health in general. This is our society moving away from power and into deep purification and cleansing. The new celebrity is even changing. It's not going to be those who are rich and dancing on stage and asking people to chant satanic lyrics. The new celebrity isn't going to be powerful, greedy and controlling. It will be those who are compassionate, people who want to heal, spread love and peace and want to be unified. This tried to come in a distorted way in the 60s and 70s, where everyone was just using street drugs and plant medicine in a way that wasn't ceremonial, but it did start a spiritual movement. But that movement was quashed, by in many ways by government. This doesn't mean there will not be distortions in this current environment, because there are many distortions in this community, as there are with every other community and tribe. The distortion, for example, the distortion of the heart bypass is very common in the spiritual community, stealing the consciousness of high learning through plant medicine and saying, I know I'm doing it. But I can tell you it's far more challenging than that. It's not about seeking knowledge, it is about embody the wisdom of the soul that resides within you, an infinite soul, intertwined with a complex and incredible vessel of elemental DNA. You cannot fathom it with the mind. That's why you have to feel it. As we purify our spirit through the acknowledgement of our distorted behavior and actions, it allows greater activation of our DNA. It allows us to use more of our potential, and this is when our gifts start to come through. First, it starts with feeling less shame, feeling more alive, more energetic. Then you start to feel hope, courage, self-pride, so to be proud of what you're achieving, gratitude, joy, happiness, love. But this energy takes years to come into the body, whereas the mind is a lot quicker. This is why people believe they know, because they see it, they hear it, and they feel they know it. But to feel is to know, because it is embodied soul wisdom. So you cannot know until you have sacrificed all your darkness. And to integrate all of that into the body takes a very long time. That's why I talk about beforehand the different processes which speed up the integration. Now, in Catholicism, I used to be a Catholic when I was a child because my parents wanted me to get into a good school, so they baptised me. I've since unbaptised myself, but in Catholicism they would call that confessing your sins. You see, the truth is already there in plain sight, hidden in lies, because we are told sins are bad, they are sins of the devil, but they're not bad in the sense of right and wrong, but they do prevent us from love. A sin is essentially a betrayal of the heart that could have been prevented, that attaches you to shame, and shame anchors you in ignorance. At the end of the day, it's all about consciousness and water. If you can purify the water in your body, then you can purify everything. So my advice, stop drinking tap water, drink more filtered mineralized water, exercise, share with a space holder, professional one, a good one, seek movement in nature every day, have fun, celebrate yourself, sleep well, eat well, make love, and live from the earth. Thank you for listening.